you bring the mood up? You know, play something good. Like YMCA by the Village People.
You read my mind.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Kamala Harris posted on her, or the HQ account posted on their account, saying Trump appears to look lost, confused, and frozen on stage, playing multiple songs for over 30 minutes, and the crowd left early. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. So Kamala Harris is claiming that Donald Trump is having a senior moment at the rally. What they failed to mention is that there were 2 emergencies at the rally, and they had to stop the rally early. This is the result of leftist bias media. And if you're just looking at the Kamala Harris HQ account, your facts are wrong. Your facts are wrong. If anybody has any mental acuity issues, it is potentially this woman right here.
You guys watched the debate. Right. He has, quote, concepts of a plan. Concepts.
Oh, man. Poor lady. Anyways, ABC went and debunked this story. They totally destroyed Kamala Harris's potential narrative pushing of Donald Trump's senior moment. Let's jump into that.
Trump's town hall event in Pennsylvania took an unusual turn after he was interrupted twice by medical emergencies in the room. Trump stopped taking questions and stood on stage for nearly 45 minutes listening to his soundtrack. The crowd slowly dispersed, but many stayed for what became an impromptu indoor concert. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran joins me now for more from Pennsylvania. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Alex. So Donald Trump came here to the suburbs of Philadelphia, one of the critical battlegrounds in this battleground state, looking for votes. And it was scheduled to be this town hall event where he would be taking questions and listening to voters. And it turned into something else, as you say, when the candidate turned into a DJ. Donald Trump, in his 11th trip to must-win Pennsylvania, urged his supporters to turn out on Election Day.
We win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing.
Yes.
In a town hall-style event in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, the former president stuck to his top issues, attacking Vice President Harris over inflation and immigration. He pledged to shut the southern border, end Russia's war in Ukraine, lower prices at the grocery store, and bring down interest rates to 2%, while providing few details on how he'd accomplish all that.
People don't think of grocery. You know, it sounds like not such an important word when you talk about homes and everything else, right? But more people tell me about grocery bills, where the price of bacon, the price of lettuce, the price of tomatoes, they tell me. And we're going to do a lot of things.
But then, 30 minutes in, 2 attendees suffered medical emergencies.
A doctor, please. Doctor.
The incidents shifted the mood, prompting Trump to cut the question short and instead play some of his favorite music.
How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
Trump kept DJing, and most of his supporters stayed for another 30 minutes of his playlist. Well, in certain quarters of social media, people had a field day with that, and I guess on the screens it might have looked quite strange. Inside that hall, however, people were having a good time. What can I tell you? It did not seem out of the ordinary. It seemed almost intimate, and at the end, Trump did something he very rarely does. He came down off the stage and mingled with his supporters. He was signing autographs and shaking hands and the like. Today, he's doing an interview with Bloomberg in Chicago, and then he's heading to another battleground state, Georgia, for a...
So the left media had a whirlwind claiming that Donald Trump had a senior moment, but at the end of the day, 2 emergency situations occurred where he abruptly stopped the rally, and just began being Donald Trump. He just started doing his Trump thing. And Secret Service, I'm sure, was quite upset because there was a scene afterwards where Donald Trump was shaking hands, doing autographs or signing autographs and all that. And Secret Service was their job is to protect him, and he's all in the crowd. But body language experts are saying other things about Kamala Harris, stating that there's a potential imposter syndrome going on with Kamala Harris. What do you guys think?
Poor hubby. Poor hubby.
No.
Oh my God. That was scary. Oh man. I swear, if we got to listen to that laugh for 4 years, that is cruel and unusual punishment. Here is the media having a field day about Donald Trump having dementia in a senior moment, but we all know they're panicking. They're panicking. Their campaign is flopping, and it's hitting at an all-time low.
Look at you have to be demented to stand on stage and start dancing when it's a town hall. I mean, we have two sides of Donald Trump right now. One, we have just this grave threat to all that we hold dear, our Constitution, our democracy. On the same hand, I would say the principal driving force of his incompetency is the fact that he is not all there. He's a couple fries short of a Happy Meal at this point, and that's why he's standing up there dancing to the YMCA. Can barely do the YMCA if you actually check out the video. And so this is a story in a video. You don't even actually have to listen to his words. And it's just imperative at this point that the campaign pushes those two separate narratives. Grave threat and also just supremely incompetent. And
bro, have you looked at Kamala Harris's campaign? Have you looked at Tim Walz lately? Incompetent is a compliment for those two. Like, what is this guy talking about?
Entering the final stages of his life. You know, I feel bad for his family right now.
I feel bad for you that you're pushing a bullcrap narrative on MSDNC just so you can get a paycheck, hombre. I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you that you're not providing the proper context to the public. That's what I feel bad for. I feel bad that you're involved in such a media machine where you have to push false narratives to appear sophisticated. This is why mainstream media is also tanking equally as much as the Harrison Walz campaign.
I know so many people have to deal with their parents as they've gone.
This guy, I can't even listen to him anymore. But this is why mainstream media is tanking. This is why Donald Trump is going on these pushes for podcasts and interviews outside of the mainstream media, because they are getting more views, more eyeballs than mainstream media is. That's just plain facts. MSDNC is tanking. Here's what Scott Jennings had to say about the entire situation. How many of you guys like Scott Jennings, by the way? I like him and Peter Doocy.
If I were Harris, I wouldn't be leaning too heavily into who's hiding what kind of medical conditions of people who are or want to be the president, given her role in lying about the condition of Joe Biden for the last 4 years. That's number one. Number two, I don't think this works for her. I think I'm back in the same bucket I was earlier. You're not selling your own candidacy. You're punching Donald Trump in the same way every other Democrat we've ever heard from for the last 8-9 years has punched this guy. That's not the problem with your campaign. We've heard all the attacks on Trump. If she cannot sell her own candidacy any better than just punching on him, I'm for her, if I were in her camp, I just don't know it's going to be enough. That's my view.
Smart for the Kamala Harris campaign to continue to remind people
Honestly,
of.
just to be lectured by Democrats about you have to have mental acuity to be the president of the United States. After what we just lived through for the last 4 years,
Scott,
come
you love that
on,
talking
don't
point.
lecture me about
Love
mental
it.
acuity
Love
of the
that talking
presidency.
point.
But when Democrats, or who all, you included, who all assured us that Joe Biden was riding unicycles and juggling knives in the Oval Office, when we know that wasn't true, and Harris was the chief cheerleader for that whole, don't the lectures about the mental acuity, come on.
Contract.
I agree. Harris was one of the main individuals covering up for Joe Biden's mental decline. This is another MSDNC talking about Kamala Harris potentially going on Joe Rogan. Guys, what do you think will happen if Kamala Harris goes on Joe Rogan? What do you think is going to happen if she goes on Joe Rogan? She will get demolished. And Joe Rogan's not going to put up with, hey, let send the questions over. Send the questions over. Joe Rogan doesn't have any questions. It's a conversation. It's a podcast. And that's where Donald Trump shines. Like him or not, but that's where he shines. He shines in open conversations, unscripted interviews, and he's quick. He's quick-witted, where Kamala Harris, not so quick.
What she's been up to, what she's about to do, which is a sit-down interview with Bret Baier on Fox News Channel. There's also some discussion we're hearing that she may do the Joe Rogan podcast, the most popular podcast in the country.
But if she does Joe Rogan, and then this, if she does Joe Rogan, that's an exact, she's aiming right at young men, right, which is a constituency that polls show that not just her, but the Democratic Party is getting a little shaky on, and those men are more interested, seem interested in Donald Trump. And so basically she and the campaign are trying to say, we're not scared to go in front of what folks might think is unfriendly waters or enemy territory and have the same conversation, right?
Meanwhile, and let's contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't sat for any sort of interview of any consequence, of any sort of, aggressive questioning in months.
And I think that what they're doing with these media outlets where they're going to Joe Rogan and Fox, like there are people who listen to Joe Rogan who will have never heard Harris speak, right?
Because she can't.
They'll have never heard an interview with her because where would they have heard it? And so I do think there's this.
Exactly. Where would they have heard it? 61 minutes? Where would they have heard her actually speak besides cooking? Soaking collard greens in the bathtub. Who does that, by the way? Guys in the chat, who puts collard greens? I ain't eating collard greens that were washed out of a bathtub. More or less, I ain't eating anything that comes from a house that's extremely dirty.
This very smart tact where they are trying to puncture these media silos to get her out there because they feel that she is being misrepresented.
She's misrepresenting herself. She's not able to completely articulate her policy.
Yeah, let's talk about his opponent.
Gosh, golly. Here's Primetime digging into the psychology of the Democrats because the Democrats are significantly, they are dipping. Their campaign is, it's far removed from even being a campaign. I've seen high school student body elections stronger than the Harrison-Walz campaign.
Dr. Drew, when you see Kamala Harris and Joe Biden fighting amongst each other, two grown adults in power, what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, it tells me the same thing you were saying, which was that there is so much infighting. What I find interesting about this is that in the face of it reminds me of sort of a losing battle where when people start to realize things are going poorly, they panic. And in panic, they start to engage in splitting behaviors. They start blaming one another for everything, trying to be the good guy when other people are sort of put aside as the bad guy. It's just sort of a classic situation in panic. And this has been the party of panic. Panic never makes things better. I mean, look what they did during COVID. They created panic and panic made everything worse.
Tell me about the splitting situation, because we're seeing Barack Obama scold black men. We're having Harris's people yell at her super PAC that they're not spending the money the right way. What is that signal that they know they're losing and they're trying to come off as the good guy?
No, that's, well, for sure, as opposed to the person who caused the loss is the bad guy. But you said something earlier that I thought was very insightful. You said they're out of step with average Americans, independent of identity, that their old strategies are losing strategies. So they're desperately looking for other ways to make things work. They're running around in a panic, grabbing at whatever, and in doing so, showing further how out of step they are. And they're going back when they start to feel, you know, that they people are seeing through them. They double down. At least Kamala Harris seems to be doubling down on some of these old strategies.
So usually they have a lot of money and they control the media and they have these race cards that they play. They have these little hoaxes that they roll out that usually is effective. And you're saying this campaign, it's not working. And it's actually backfiring, but instead of recognizing it, they're just doing the same thing over and over, but stronger?
And splitting, right? And sort of trying to distance themselves from the losing member of the team. Kamala seems to be losing. I'm not part of her team anymore. It is so interesting, though, as you pointed out in your premonitory thing about how President Biden seems to be actively undermining some of what the Harris campaign is attempting to do. And it makes sense. It seems like there's sort of two camps. There's now what I suspect might be the Pelosi camp, which Harris was anointed by. And then there is the Biden camp, who is left angry and embittered. And particularly when a losing team has been anointed, of course, they're going to continue to express their bitterness.
So if Joe Biden, do you think that he might secretly deep down enjoy the fact that Kamala Harris loses so he could say to Pelosi, see, I told you so? Because, you know, at the end of the day, this is all about personalities. You know, these guys have big egos. You know,
does it remind you of high school?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean,
it does.
The thing is, people expect politicians or celebrities to be different than other people. You know as well as I, everybody's just human beings. It's a lot more narcissism in politics at a high level and in certain celebrity circles. And that narcissism creates some of these shortcomings we're seeing in how they behave.
But if you're an old man and you're a wise statesman like Joe Biden we hear is, shouldn't he understand that it's beneficial for Kamala to distance herself from him? Shouldn't he understand politics well enough at his age to know that he has to give her a longer leash to say, you know what, you can bash me here, you can bash me there, do whatever you need to do to win? He seems incapable of doing that. He seems very immature.
Well, it's hard to call a man in that age group immature, but what he seems embittered, and while he no longer is willing to put his own feelings aside for the party's win. That's what I find kind of interesting here. Everyone's has always been the one thing that you saw from this, you've seen from the sort of the Democratic Party for a long time, is everybody singing from the same songbook for a long time. People really unlikely partners sort of singing the same tune. And that's what was abnormal. What is a little more normal is the infighting that's going on. And I think people are surprised to see that, but that's actually more normal. The problem is that even though the sort of the infighting is more normal, the circumstances are so extraordinary, where you have a president who has a chronic neurological condition, you have what is effectively a coup, you have the undermining of the will of the people, you have old tactics, and by old, think about it, they're 8 to 10 years old now. The identity politics is nearly a generation behind, and the average American, as you pointed out earlier, is seeing through all this.
All right.
I agree with that. People are seeing through the identity politics. Kamala Harris started off her campaign with doing rallies in Atlanta, Georgia, with Megan Thee Stallion in the blue suit. I mentioned the blue suit. It was a very good looking blue suit, by the way. You know, shaking her thing, but you know, that ain't gonna get you votes, man. That ain't gonna get you votes. Here is Donald Trump talking about Kamala Harris about that particular thing. Oh, lost audio. Hold on, guys. There we go.
How come you're so genuine with every group you talk to? You never change your accents or try to appeal to who you're talking to.
Like her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you're always the same. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure that out.
I haven't tried that. I don't think it plays too well. I saw that the other day. I don't think it plays too well.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Oh man. Oh man. Here is Trump at Bloomberg talking about Governor Gavin Newsom.
How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, like all.
But do you think?
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. I said,
That's
the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's
but they
fine
don't
for a
have to
president?
survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There has never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way.
Well, you made a very good job of.
He signed a bill in California 2 days ago that you don't even have the right to ask a person for voter ID. And if you ask a person for voter ID, of course you have to show voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't do because they want to cheat. The bill says you cannot, it's against the law for you to ask a person, may I please see your voter ID when he votes? What is our country coming to?
It is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous where you don't have to show your voter ID in order to vote. This is partially, probably, presumably one of the main reasons why they had these open border policies. It is bananas. Bananas. Let me know what you guys think about this. What did you think about DJ Ficky Donald Trump coming to the rescue at the rally after the two emergencies and abruptly stopping the rally? And, you know, we all know what's going on with Kamala Harris. But let me know what you guys think. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button. Share, subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.